Hi everyone, it's Kathleen at Crafts by Kathleen. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm trying something new and doing this with my ear pods, so my microphone should be a little bit better. If it's not, let me know. But we're going to go over some acetate cards. So this was a pop-up class that we did this week that we had great success with. However, a lot of people weren't able to come because it was a pop-up class. You only had like 24, 48 hours notice. And some people bought some kits. So I told them what I would do is come on and go over how we made these acetate cards. And this way they could follow along with the video, or they could save it and watch it later and do it. But we're going to make some acetate cards. So this is the first one we're going to make. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. So this is a split acetate card, or an acetate separation card. So you're going to use the acetate here to separate the actual card base, and then you're going to put your ephemera or your elements on the acetate, so it kind of looks like it's floating. Isn't that cool? You don't really see the acetate, you just see that chair and umbrella up there. So, all right, so what we're going to do is start out with some white cardstock. We're going to cut it down to 6.5 by 4.25. So we're going to take our white cardstock. We're going to get our little trimmer. Let me get these out of the way here. Get our trimmer, and it's going to be 6.5, so I'm going to need to open up my door, my arm there. All right, so 6.5 by 4.25. I'm going to cut it on the long side at 4.25, and then I'm going to turn it and cut that at 6.5. Okay, now we're going to score it at 1 inch. My little there's my score. So I'm going to move this over to the 1 inch, and then I'm just going to score it. Okay, and that's going to be the back of our card base and that top that the acetate gets attached to. All right, I think I need to adjust this camera just a little bit so you can see a little further. There we go. All right. Hopefully that works. Okay, so this is the top part of the card, and then down here will be the bottom part of the card, and this in between will be acetate. All right, so we've got our base cut. Now we're going to cut a 1 inch piece by a 4.25. So this is already 4.25 because I trimmed it off of that, and I'm going to just put it in my trimmer and cut it at 1 inch. Then I'm going to throw this little scrap piece away because I don't want to get it confused because they're very close in size. All right, so that's going to go down there at the bottom. Then we're going to need some mats. So we're going to need some cream cardstock. Let me go into my stash here. I bet you I don't have a piece of cream. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so we're going to need some cream cardstock to make some of our mats here. So we're going to need 2 pieces that measure 4 1/8 by 7/8 of an inch. So they're actually going to fit right here on these 2 sections. So we're going to cut this down to 4 1/8 on the long side. And everybody knows when I say that you're cutting on the long side, that means that the long side of the paper is going to be up here where the ruler is on your trimmer. All right, so we're cutting it at 4 1/8, and then we're going to trim off 2 pieces that are 7/8. So that's just before the 1 inch mark. So right here on this trimmer, I don't know if you can see it, but see those little grids? So each one of those is 1/4 of an inch. So I know that between 3/4 and 1 is 7/8. So I'm going to make sure that my paper goes all the way down. So this is the Tim Holtz trimmer that we sell here at the shop, and I just love the way that, 1, it cuts, the blades are great, and 2, it has these little grids on here so you can really keep track of what you're doing. Plus the ruler, 1, 2, 3 times. So if you look, I'm going at 7/8. I know that it's 7/8 here. I'm following all the way down here. Plus down here, I know it's at 7/8. So I know I'm going to get a straight cut. And that's one of the great things about the Tim Holtz one. All right, so we've got 7/8 of an inch. And you know what? I sat there and talked my way right through this and didn't cut it the correct way. We meant to turn it that way. All right, so we're going to start over on this. We're going to cut this again at 4 1/8. Okay, now we're going to turn it and cut it at 7/8. All right, so we've got 7/8 here. We know that we're following the grid line down here. I'm just going to go a little bit more because that looked not quite so even. There we go. So we're going to cut 1 and 2. Okay, so these are going to go here and here. All right, next thing we need to do is cut our pattern paper 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. So our pattern paper is going to be this green paper from 49th and Market, and it's got these great palm trees on it. So we're doing some really nice uh, texture, something with a little bit of depth in it. It's not just plain green paper. All right, so what we're going to do is cut this so that we can cut it into 4 inch by 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut this at 4 inches here. And then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to cut it at 3/4 of an inch. So again, following these grid marks, I know that this is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut 1, and then I'm going to bring this back over here and cut our second one. Okay, now they're going to go right here with these two. And then we're going to cut our inside. So we need to cut our paper for in here. So we're going to cut that at 4/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch in cream. So let's see here. We've got 4 1/8 there. I did say 4/8. I meant 4 1/8. And then we're going to bring this down to 5 3/8 and cut that. I'm going to throw this piece away so that we know not to get that mixed up with anything. That's going to go on the inside. And let's see what we've got here, if we've got enough left out of it. So this pattern paper is going to be 4 inches, which we already know it should be. We already cut it at 4. And then we're going to turn it and see if we can get 5 1/4 out of it. So here's our 5 1/4. It's nice and straight. It is right on that little line where the 49th and Market ticker line is. I don't know what else to call these. I call them a little ticker strip. It's what's got the barcode on it when you check out, but it made it exactly at 5 1/4. So that was really good. So we have 5 1/4 here. All right, now we need our acetate. Our acetate's going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's the same size as our A2 card. So I've got some scrap pieces of acetate over here. Let's see if that's 4 1/4. I know that it's more than 5 1/2 inches long. Look at that. It's exactly 4 1/4. Okay, so we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 5 1/2. All right, and now we're done with the trimmer. Set that aside. Now we're going to take this and put the card together. So we need our glue, and you know that we use our reptile glue here, and I always want to test it and make sure it's working. First thing we're going to do is put together our mats. So we're going to glue the pattern paper to our cream paper. Give it a nice little 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, and then we're going to glue that to the top of the card base. Okay, we're going to glue that right there. Put that down. All right. Now we should have another white piece, cream piece, and green piece. We're going to glue that together. We sure do like reptile glue, especially with the humidity down here in Florida. It holds up so well, and it's a mom and pop company, and I love the lady. She's just so easy to work with that owns the shop. Her name's Cindy. Super nice. All right, now we're going to glue this together. Now we really don't have any place to put this until we get the acetate started, okay? So I'm going to set this with the acetate, and I always tell people when we're doing acetate cards to keep an eye on their acetate because it does disappear, okay? Because it blends in with everything. All right, so let's glue this larger piece on here. And I know that a lot of people first started carding, they were using the tape runners. I have had so many cards fall apart with the tape runners. I stopped using it years and years ago, way before we even opened up the shop, because the tape runner cards, they just fell apart. And I started using, some of the liquid glue, and then I had watched a lady on YouTube. Her name's Sherry, the Posh Paper lady, and she did a little series about liquid glues, and she tested them out and shared her data with us. And she found this reptile glue. So I can't be the, I can't claim to be the one that found them, but she's the one that told her followers about it, and that was way back before I started doing any of this, and I started using it, and man, I can see why she loves it. It doesn't clog up. I mean, of course you're going to get the glue that dries out in here if you don't take care of it right. If you don't, take the little glue boogers off and tap it down before you put your little cap on it, you're going to, if you don't do all that, you're going to get some clogging inside the little tip. But all you have to do is use the pin to do that. But it doesn't make that big glob after some time with some of the glues. When you push it down to clear the tip out, you start getting that big glob, and then that keeps getting stuck, and you're always taking apart your glue bottle. You don't get that with the reptile glue. All right, so now we're going to add our acetate. So we're going to take our acetate. Can you guys see this? All right, we're going to take our acetate and we're going to put it right in here. Now remember, this is called a acetate separation card. The acetate is going to be separating those two elements of our card. So we're going to take the glue and add here to our top of our card base. We're going to put the acetate in here so it's completely flush with our sides and our bottom, okay? Then we're going to fold that top part down, rub that glue on there. Now your glue is going to take, a little bit more finagling to get it to stick to the acetate than if it was paper, because of course your paper is more coarse. It's got pores in it so that the glue can seep in and really grab in. Your acetate doesn't. That's plain, straight, flat plastic. It's not going to seep in there. So just be patient and take a couple of seconds, a minute or two maybe, and just rub that glue, massage it right in there so that you know that it's getting on there. All right, so once that's adhered, okay, your glue's going to dry clear. You're not even going to see that. Now we're going to put the bottom part, that part that separates here, we're going to put glue on that. And we're going to put that right up against the bottom. Again, you want it nice and flush with the bottom edge and your sides. All right, and that's your card base. See that? See how the acetate separates your card base? So now you've got a top and a bottom to your card base, and it's nice and clear through here. Well, now we're going to add our elements to it, our ephemera, if you will. And I'm going to clear my glue off because we're going to take a couple of seconds and do a little bit of ink blending. All right, I'm using my Scroll and Bind glass mat here, so I don't have to worry too much about getting the ink all over the place, because I'm just going to wipe it up with one of my alcohol wipes if I have them here. Oh, I don't have them here. I'll have to find them. I must have moved them over there. All right, so anyway, we're going to use our ink blending brushes, and we're going to use our Gina K inks, and we're going to color in our ephemera, our little pieces here that we're going to be putting on the card. So the first thing we're going to do is use our craft. All right, and I've got my craft brush, and I like to use different brushes. I even label them so that I know which brushes go with what ink. So I'm going to use my craft brush here, and then I'm just going to, let me make sure I've got the front of this. Yeah, I do. All right, I'm just going to take my Adirondack chair. Now I usually tell people circle, circle, circle. I'm loading my brush with a circle. You see my hand over there going in a circle. But when you're working with these little tiny pieces, you just don't want to rip it, okay? So just go nice and gentle. You're not going to really make circles. Turn it so you can get all the aspects of the element. You've got your ephemera here. You want it to look nice and brown. And I wouldn't worry about making it too dark. One, these are more pastel-y, and two, these Adirondack chairs, the wooden Adirondack chairs, they're usually sitting out in the element, so the wood starts to get a little bit weathered, so you don't want to make it real dark. So we've got our Adirondack chair. Now we're going to take this and glue it. We're going to glue it right to the acetate. So we're not going to load a ton of glue on here because you don't want it seeping out. However, if you do get glue on the acetate, if it does seep out, all you have to do is take a little corner of the paper towel and wet that, and then you'll go right on here and clear it off. Okay, so we've got our Adirondack chair. I'm just going to put a couple little dots of glue on it. Okay, just a few little dots here and there. Okay. And then we're going to place it down. Now, in a perfect world, I would have grabbed my tweezers before I started this, but sometimes I don't think to do that. All right, there we go. We've got our Adirondack chair down. Now let's take our pieces to our, let me lid my glue so it doesn't dry out. Now we're going to take the pieces here for our umbrella. Ooh, we're missing a piece. Let's see. Could it have gotten stuck somewhere? Yep, here it is. All right. So the umbrella, now this is the Gina K umbrella and Adirondack chair. Let's see here. I'm sure I have it right here. Here we go. It's the At the Beach die set. We sell this here at the shop. We've got the Adirondack chair, and then it comes with all the parts to make your umbrella. All right, so we're going to make our umbrella. We've got our two little pieces that go on the outside of the umbrella. We've got our umbrella, and then we've got our little tiny umbrella pole. Look how tiny that is. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is the umbrella pole, because I've already got my craft ink out here, and I'm just going to swipe up and down on the umbrella pole. Okay, want to get that brown hue to it, make it look like it's a wooden umbrella pole. Just do one more swipe on here. Okay. Then let's put the lid on that craft ink. And now we're going to go to yellow. We're going to use our Wild Dandelion. And I've got my Wild Dandelion brush here. And I'm going to circle, circle, circle. And then I'm going to cover this part of the umbrella in the yellow ink. See, it doesn't take much. And then I'm going to do these two small pieces with some medium spruce. Okay. All right, we're going to do them both. Now make sure when you're doing these that one's pointing left and one's pointing right, because one goes on one side of the umbrella and the other one goes on the other side of the umbrella. And I love when you're doing these standalone die cuts that are just little elements that you piece together like a puzzle. I love cutting them all out of white and then using my inks to blend the colors on there. I don't know why. To me, it just looks nicer than just cutting out the plain pieces of cardstock and the colors. So I enjoy doing it this way. Doesn't mean you have to. It just means that that's my preference. Remember, my cards here, they're just here to inspire the creativity that's already within you. So these are just inspiration to something that you may want to make. All right, so now we're going to put our green pieces on. Okay, and again, in a perfect world, I would have grabbed my tweezers. All right, but I did pretty good. And now our other one. Put that on there. Now the umbrella pole, I want just the tip of it to stick out above where the umbrella is. So can you see that, where the tip of that is? See the umbrella pole? I want just a little bit sticking out there. All right, so I'm just going to put a couple little drops of glue on here. And then I'm going to put my umbrella down with a little bit of the pole sticking out. Okay. And then I'm going to bring my card down, and I want to put my umbrella so that it's over top of the Adirondack chair like that, so that they're getting shade. They're sitting in the shade, enjoying their day off at the beach. All right, so we're going to put a little bit of glue on here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue down on that pole. You saw how I just put a little bit of glue on that pole, and then I'm going to put my umbrella down. Okay. There we go. How's that look? Now, watch when you're opening up your card, it looks like the umbrella and the Adirondack chair are kind of just floating. So now, as far as the sentiment, you're either going to want to stamp something here because it's going to be seen through the acetate. You're either going to want to stamp something here, or like I did on this one, I took birthday wishes and I stamped it on the cream paper to match the matting, and then I just put it on there so that you could see it right through the acetate. But then when I opened it, it looks really nice, and I would sign my name down here so that when the card's closed, you don't see anything except the beautiful elements that you put on this. All right, so this is the separation, the acetate separation card. So that was the first card that we made in the pop-up class. All right, and if you need the measurements for all of this, I have it here at the shop. So if you stop by the shop, just ask me for the measurements again, and I can print that out for you. All right, so now let's see. Our second card that we did was our framed easel card. All right, now this is the framed easel card, and it stands up like this. Let's see, how can I show this to you? There we go. So that's the framed easel card. So it's got these really cute little palm trees on it. We've got this frame, and then behind the frame, we've got our acetate. And that acetate's what's holding up those palm trees, so it looks like the palm trees are kind of floating there. And then it's an easel card, so we've got this strip with our foam taping here, or our pop dots, so that that's up and it holds it like this. Let's see if I can probably show it to you better in the other camera. So it stands up like that. Okay, let me see. There you go. Okay. All right, so now let's make this card. I love making frame cards for different reasons. We have frame cards that you have things coming through the frames, things hanging in the frames, and acetate behind the frames. But frame cards are a little bit scary for some people because they're not really sure how to get the frame to cut. So this is an easy frame. This is a 1-inch frame, and our mat that's going to go over top of it is going to be 1 inch. It's not going to go down in smaller sizes and make a little bit of a border. It's going to just be the exact same size. So let's get this taken care of. So the first thing we're going to do is get some light blue cardstock. So let me go into my stash here. I'm going to grab my sky blue, my light blue cardstock, and we're going to cut it on the short side so that it's 4 1/4 by 11. So let me get my trimmer out here. We're going to put the cardstock right in here at 4 1/4. Okay, so we've got it cut there at 4 1/4, and then we're going to score it at 5 1/2. Now, normally I usually just fold my cardstock in half. However, when I'm cutting out a frame, I always like to do the scoring because I'm going to need that as a reference guide for the frame. All right, so now we're going to cut out the 1-inch frame. Let's talk a little bit about your trimmer. Your trimmer has a ruler up here at the top. It has inches, and then it has metric. We're using inches. Down here on your guide door here, your cutting door, you have inches and you have metric. Again, we're going to be using inches. We're going to do this at 1 inch. So what we want to do is I have 1 through 2 inches on this side, and then my regular ruler going out to 12 inches is on this side. So I'm going to put this in, and most people have this on their ruler, if on their trimmer. If not, don't worry, you just turn it and do it this way. And I'll do it this way just in case you don't have it the same way I do. All right, so it's at 1 inch. You put your paper in at 1 inch. Then you're going to put your blade at 1 inch. Okay, and then that's going to go down into the paper. So now it's only going to cut from that 1 inch mark to wherever you stop it. Well, we know that our paper's 4 1/4. So if we subtract 1 inch, that's going to give us 3 1/4. So we're going to pull our blade down to 3 1/4, and we're going to stop. We're going to lift up our blade, and we're going to turn our paper. We're going to turn our paper so that the next side is able to be put at the 1 inch. Then we're going to bring our blade up to 1 inch. We're going to do the same thing, but now we're on the 5 1/2 inch side. So we're going to stop it at 5 1/2 minus 1 inch, which is 4 1/2. So that's right here. I'm going to pull my blade down to 4 1/2. I'm going to turn it. Now this is where I was saying that instead of just folding it in half, I like to put the score line when I'm doing the frames. So now I don't want 1 inch from the end of my paper. I want 1 inch from my score line because that frame is just that top half of your paper. So we're going to put the score line at the 1 inch mark. And then we're going to put our blade at the 1 inch mark. And we're on that 4 1/4 inch side, so we're going to stop at 3 1/4. Okay, we're going to lift up, and then we're going to turn it around. I don't want to work from the bottom, so what I'm going to do is flip my paper over so that I'm still at the top. I'm going to put that side at the 1 inch. I'm going to put my blade at the 1 inch. I'm going to put it down, and I'm on the 5 1/2 inch side, so I'm going to stop it at 4 1/2. Right there. Okay, and then we've got a couple little places it's just a smidgen. You're going to pull off the corners, and there you go. Okay, so that's your 1 inch frame. It was that simple. All right, now we're going to do the pattern paper that's going to go on top of it. So we've got our pattern paper here. Again, it's by 49th and Market. And I'm going to use this side. And I want to use this side that's got this little ship on it. So you can see here I had the little ship in the upper corner there. So I want to do that. So I'm going to cut my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 off there. So I'm going to start by cutting this at 5 1/2. Lay my ship down on its side because I want 5 1/2 to be the length. Then I'm going to turn it so that the ship is there and I can cut this at 4 1/4. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing to make our frame, but we don't have to worry about the score line. This is going to be even easier. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to start by putting this at the 1 inch. We've got our blade at the 1 inch. We're going to put that right down into our paper. This is 5 1/2, so we're going to stop at 4 1/2. And I'm not stopping here at 4 1/2. See these little arrows? That's where my blade is, right there in the center. So that's what I'm stopping at 4 1/2. All right, now we're going to turn it. Put this at 1 inch. Put our blade up at 1 inch. And now we're on the 4 1/4 side, so I'm going to stop at 3 1/4. And then we're going to turn it again. Put this side at 1 inch. Bring our blade up to 1 inch, and we're going to bring it down to 4.5 because we're on the 5.5-inch side. Okay, and then we're turning it and putting this side at 1 inch, this side at 1 inch. Bring this up to 1 inch, and we're on the 4.25 side. So I'm going to come down to 3.25, and then we're just going to take that center piece out. Okay. All right. Now our next piece is going to be a cream piece of paper that's 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to have to see, do I still have any more cream in my stash? Oh, I got one more piece of cream colored paper. Oh, nope, I lied to you. I have 2 more pieces. All right, so we're going to use the cream colored paper. On the long side, we're going to cut it at 5 3/8. Then we're going to turn it and cut it at 4 1/8. Okay, we just need one of those. Then we need a pattern paper at 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so we're going to take our pattern paper, come here, and I think what I'm going to do is use the blue side over here. So I'm going to cut my 4 1/4 over here. So let's see, this is at 5 1/2, and I only need it at 5 1/4. So I'm going to trim that down 1/4 inch. I'm going to throw this little piece away. I'm going to throw this little blue piece away, and I'm going to throw this away. And I know that drives some of you crazy, but if I kept every scrap that we had in this shop, that back room would just be overflowing with paper. All right, now we need to cut this down to 4 1/8, is it? 5 1/4 by 4. All right, so I'm just going to cut this at 4 inches. All right. And then I need a piece of cream that is just 1/4 inch, and that's this piece right here that we use for the stopper. All right, so let's set this aside. We're going to take this scrap of, actually I'm going to hold on to that one. I've got another scrap of cream over here that I'm going to use. All right, so I want to cut this at 4 1/4, and then I just need it to be 1/4 inch, so that I can put some pop dots behind it. All right, and then I need a piece of acetate, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. Now, there it is. The other piece of acetate that I cut before, I believe, left me with 4 1/4, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Look at that, perfect. So I don't even have to cut it. I've already got it. So we're finished with the trimmer. Set that to the side. Let's put together our card. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this frame on here. Now let's remember, this is an easel card. So an easel card means that you're going to be putting this up. So we're needing to fold this back in on itself, giving us a top and a bottom to the front. So we're only going to glue half, this bottom half of the frame to the base of our card, so that when it's done, it stands up. All right, so let's grab our glue, and we're going to put glue on the bottom half. And remember, I wanted to have that little ship up at that top hand corner, so I better have done it on the right half. I did. Okay, so we've got the glue on the bottom half. We're just going to place that right here on our card base, making sure it's nice and straight. Get everything even and flush. Bring that down a little bit. Off just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to, oh, what did we do? We forgot to put the acetate in there. All right. See, that's why I like working with wet glue. Even I make mistakes. Even I make mistakes. All right. So we forgot to put the acetate in there. So we need to glue that to the frame here. Okay. So let's take glue and put it all over the frame. And using that wet glue, it gave us, that just long enough that it wasn't completely stuck on there, that we were able to fix our mistake. All right, so we got our acetate. We're putting that right here on the back of the frame. All right, that's done. Now we're going to glue the bottom half of this. Make sure that our little ship's in the right spot. All right, and then we're going to put this right here on our card base. There we go. Folds in half. I'm going to use my bone folder and varnish this down. Okay. Make sure everything's nice and stuck. All right. Now we're going to let that sit for a second while we're putting this together. Remember I said I wanted to use the blue on this, so I'm going to glue that now to our cream mat. And it's going to give us just a little bit of a border. Then we're going to put that on the inside here. Let's see, the words, there's some letters on here. It's a foreign language, so I can't tell you what the letters say, but I can tell that the T and the I and the O and the N and the S and the D need to be facing this way. So no matter what it says, I know at least the letters will be in the right orientation. All right, so now this goes right here in the center. The little tiny bit of a blue border going around it, so pretty. All right, now we're going to pop this up right across here so that that gives us our stopper. So let's grab some pop dots here. All right, now you want to make sure that it's going to stop it, but you also don't have to use a gazillion pop dots. I don't have to have it going all the way across. So I'm going to just use 4 little pop dots. I'm going to place them about 1 inch apart, and that will work just fine. Okay, take the backs off. Into the trash can they go. And then I've got a nice little straight line here. It's a line of little dots. I'm going to follow that so that I know that I'm putting this on straight. And that's going to be our stopper so that our card stays up. All right, so this is still a little bit light right now. We're going to have to put our palm trees on it to make it stay. Okay, all right, so now we've got our card base all together, and we're going to take these cute little palm tree cutouts that we got. Now these were from a kit that I got from Gina K, oh golly, a couple years ago. It was back when she first started putting out some of the foiling stuff, and I love these little palm tops. All right, I think that the tree trunk that came with it is a little narrow, so I just cut the little tree trunks out of scrap paper for myself, and I made myself some tree trunks. All right, so we're going to take these tree trunks and we're going to color them with the craft. So we're going to get the craft ink back in here. We're going to use the brush again for the craft ink. I'm going to circle, 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 and then I'm just going to go over top of these tree trunks. Okay, get some nice brown coloring on here. Do all 3 of them. We're just going to put 3 palm trees on there. Look at that, I almost forgot to do that last one. And I'm sorry that the camera kind of jiggles when I'm doing some ink blending. That part we haven't gotten down pat yet, but what a difference being able to do this picture in picture, right? Look at that. You get to see me talk, you get to see my hands going, you get to see what I'm working on, you get to see this beautiful squirrel and vine glass mat that my husband got me. I love it. It's magnetic. Like I can hold this down here and just do this with it. Did you see that? I didn't even have to hold it if I didn't want to get my fingers inked up. Move that back over there. All right, so my tree trunks are done. So I'm finished with the craft. Now I'm going to get the medium spruce back out. and I'm going to color the tops of my trees. I'm going to color the tree palms. All right, so we've got 3 large ones and 3 small ones, and that's going to build a tree. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just go over each one. Some of it's going to be dark, some of it's going to be light, but you want it that way because, you know, you want your elements on your card to look not necessarily completely realistic, but as realistic as art can be sometimes. All right, now we've got our small ones. Okay, that's 2 of them. Let's get the third one up here. And here's our last one. Okay, get these palm trees on here, and this one will be all finished. All right, so all we're going to do now is we're going to take these little palms and we're going to glue them right here to the center. Okay, just putting a little bit of glue right here, putting these in here. Okay, and then once they're done, you're going to just take the trunks and you're going to put the tops of the palm trees right on the trunks. Okay. All right, that's our 3 palm trees. So now I'm going to put them right in here. I'm going to put some glue right here on the palm trees. And I'm going to put this one here. This one kind of in front of it. And then on the other side, I'm going to put this one. Okay. And then all you have to do is put a sentiment on here, and you can use this for a birthday card, a thinking of you card, a haha, I live in Florida, there's no snow card. Um, so this is the easel one. Let me see if I hold, I can enlarge this frame. All right, and we've got the easel card there, so that comes up. All right, so now if you like those 2 cards, come back tomorrow and I will show you how to make this floating easel. See how that one kind of floats? I'll show you how to do that one tomorrow, but today I'm really glad that you stopped by and hung out with me to make these 2 acetate cards. We've got the separated acetate, and then we've got our acetate frame card. All right, we've got both of these cards done today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope I've inspired you to get your acetate out of your stash or come by the shop and pick up a couple of sheets of acetate and play with it. So thanks a lot, and hope to see you here at the shop. We're at 6518 Massachusetts Avenue. If you see any classes that you're interested on here on Facebook, or if you see any that are listed in our website, just call the shop and save your spot. Our phone number is 727-807-5055. Look forward to talking to you real soon. Bye-bye.